Hello and welcome to The Good, the Bad and the Worst, a podcast where we watch movie trilogies and decide which movie's daily routine is 9 hours in bed, 5 hours in front of the TV, and 2 hours in the bathroom, whatever that's about. I'm your host Griner, and joining me today...
Conan, and it's been kind of rough. My girl left me, my mum died too, and my dad got deported, but I got the van.
Hey, and I'm Luke Morgan, and it's never too late to not be a dick.
It's Ant-Man time, boys. How bad is your Marvel fatigue at the moment? Because mine's pretty off the charts. How are you guys going?
I'll let Conan go first because he's had Marvel fatigue since Iron Man.
I'm so fatigued right now. I can barely keep myself up for this podcast. But it's not even like I was thinking about what I'm going to say, and I'm like, all right, how negative am I going to be? I'm like, I'm just whipping a dead horse at this point.
Lost the passion to fight.
Honestly, it's like that. I feel inebriated by my fatigue.
See, eventually you're gonna crack to the point you just like start enjoying them. You're like,
you'll get a second wind at some point.
I'm waiting for that turning point. I keep thinking it's got to come up any day now. This movie didn't do it, but this movie does have a bit more interesting stuff in terms of its future, because obviously it's meant to be the Phase 4 or Phase 5? This Phase 5? Okay. So it's in the beginning of Phase 5. It's got the big bad, and what it's doing in it is kind of not a good sign for what the future will be, IMO. But at least this film's a little bit more interesting than all the previous ones, which really felt like this is the biggest waste of 2 hours and $200 million I could have asked for in the universe.
Luke, you're probably our biggest Marvel fanboy. How are you going? Have you watched? Are you still watching the TV shows?
So this is where I'm at. So I obviously I am like the Marvel guy. I've always loved Marvel, but the last year or two, honestly, really since Endgame, it's been on a downward trend for me. At the start, I was like, okay, I need to consume all of the TV content. I need to consume everything. And then it just got to a point, probably after Eternals and Black Widow, as much as I mustered up the thing, I was like, wow, Black Widow was great. And Eternals was all right. That was different.
Yeah, you were an apologist.
And Shang-Chi's dope. I will stand by that. It's really cool and different. But the last year, I haven't really enjoyed the Marvel movies other than just enjoy. Like, I've had no desire of ever watching any of them a second time. Or know if I'll ever will watch them a second time. And it got to the point with even TV shows where I was like, okay, Moon Knight. Like, I always was a fan of the design of Moon Knight. This is cool. I love Oscar Isaac. And then all of a sudden it'd be like, okay, there's 5 episodes out now. People have been talking about it for 5 episodes. I should start watching that. And I got through that. Didn't touch She-Hulk. I didn't touch... I watched 2 episodes of Miss Marvel, and just like fell off it, and it was just like, okay, yeah, whatever.
There's some werewolf show now, isn't there? I can't even keep up with it, honestly.
That was really good.
Yeah, that was just like, that was a short movie.
That. Everybody says that.
But the last few, I really didn't enjoy, and it was a waking up moment for me during Thor: Love and Thunder. Where I was like, okay, has Maverick messed me up where it's shown me the light of true cinema, and now I can't watch this drivel anymore? But I really, really did not enjoy watching Love and Thunder, possibly due to high expectations. I had high expectations from Ragnarok, and I came into this with very low expectations based off the critic score. I was like, wow. I was like, Marvel is really driven off a cliff. This is disappointing because I'm enjoying it, man. But yeah, I don't know if it was the low expectations. I was like, that wasn't bad. That wasn't bad. Wasn't great. But I was like, I enjoyed it. It's 100% just a film just to set up the future of the universe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is.
Do either of you guys feel any particular affinity for Ant-Man? Because I remember when Ant-Man was announced and Edgar Wright was attached to it and Paul Rudd, I'm like, dude, this movie's going to be freaking amazing. I can't wait. There was cell phone footage of the Comic-Con trailer that they released, and I was watching that. Like, I was so in for it. And now this trilogy might be the most okay trilogy in all of Marvel, in my opinion. I don't hate any of these movies. I don't love any of these movies. They're just like, these are Marvel movies, that's for sure. And that's about almost all I have to say about them.
You go.
I love Paul Rudd. I've always been a big Paul Rudd fan.
Sure.
And I like the Ant-Man character. I loved him in Civil War. Like, I think he's a highlight of the airport scene.
Yeah, he's almost better in the other movies than his own movies.
He has more to do in all of those.
Like his comedy is always great and stands out when he's like interacting with other superheroes that he's in awe of. And there's a film in here I really, really do enjoy. And that probably had a lot to do with Edgar Wright and what he'd already planned for the film. But I like Paul Rudd, and so I like the Ant-Man character. And there was stuff there, but it's been lost a bit.
Yeah, I think this film was kind of the first. This was kind of the first victim of my fatigue of the Marvel franchise. Like, I've talked about it before at length, and I'll talk about it again. Avengers of Age of Ultron is an awful, awful film that shouldn't exist. And that was made so much more clear by watching it so close to Mad Max Fury Road. That was in 2015. That was the year that I realized, oh, wait.
You had your awakening.
I was like, movies don't have to be bad like we're okay with now. We can make good movies. And Ant-Man came out at the end of 2015 as the kind of, the palate cleanser, which it does that job well. But I remember not seeing this. And it was because both of that, but also because Edgar Wright was taken off it. When it was announced that it was really part of it, I was like, sweet, okay, this is going to be... I was the same. I was really excited. I was like, Ant-Man, that's a dumb hero, but Edgar Wright can do no wrong. And he could do no wrong still if he made this freaking movie. But for some reason, they were like, let's remove someone with personality and put on someone who also has a bit of personality but is more willing to compromise.
I think he as far as I can tell, he left the project because of creative differences. Like, I think this is before Marvel was willing to give a hero over to someone to be creative with. Like, I feel like we've had that since then with James Gunn and the Guardians, with Taika Waititi and Thor, to varying success sometimes. But yeah,
like it's part of a two-edged sword they have, because even things like the Eternals, Chloe Zhao is a true auteur, and they'll kind of like do your thing but don't really do your thing, and so you got this mess that was that. Captain Marvel was made by
I hate on Eternals. You haven't watched Eternals. It's not bad. It's just different.
I don't have to eat fecal matter. I know that it's not going to taste nice. But the two that made Captain Marvel, they were like an art house indie directing duo as well, and they're like they were stripped of all their DNA to make that. Like, Marvel doesn't quite hand projects over. And so you're right. The first Ant-Man was before that. They were like, no, there's too much personality coming through here, Mr. Wright. Please, we need someone who will just dance for their dinner like Peyton Reed bloody will. But either way, that's where I bailed out of this. And I'm like, and this trilogy, watching it so close again, it's like witnessing a Faustian tragedy, honestly, and seeing them sort of slowly strip back any trace of personality and just be left with this film. And I'm like, this Quantumania has no identity to it. It is like the most generic image of what Marvel could be. If you were to say, like, what is Marvel in 2 hours, you'd be like, it's Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. It's just
it's formula. It's got a formula and a character.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
We'll get to it.
Let's get into some stats. All right, Ant-Man had a budget of 130 million, made 519 million. Ant-Man and the Wasp, $162 million budget, made $622 million. Quantumania, estimated budget, $200 million. And the only numbers I could find were for Thursday previews, which was made $17 million, and they're talking about $100 million opening weekend. So still making some money. And I think people who want to get back into the MCU are looking to this film to do that, right? Like, I feel like everybody's kind of sick of what we've had. Everybody who likes the MCU and wants that intertwined story has not had that for 2 years, basically. And I feel like people are hoping this brings that back. It does set things up, but I wonder if that's what's driving people to go see it.
Yeah.
Is it bad that, like, you know, I just went through the MCU and like my history with it recently, and just completely forgot that 2 months ago we watched Wakanda Forever. Like, I forgot that film
was
existed.
totally thinking about that today, and I was like, oh yeah, we
I
watched
forgot
that movie
film
not that long
existed.
ago, didn't we?
Like, I forgot about it already. Like, it's, yeah. And I don't know if 2 months from now it'll feel like this, other than, okay, cool, Kang is here for the future. And that's a good thing, because I think Jonathan, is it Mayers or Majors? I don't know how it's pronounced, but
Majors.
Majors is fantastic, I feel like, in this, and spoiler alert, in Loki. And I'm excited to see him be able to stretch his wings more and interact with other actors and everything like that. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know.
I just don't know if I care about any of the other actors yet, but we'll see.
No, because they're not Iron Man and
No.
Captain America,
No.
so it's
And that's why I say this movie is in that weird point where you're at the whole, like, Marvel has been in a really precarious spot in Phase 4, where the common criticism is just what's happening here, what's the direction, and you've had these standalone little shows that are trying to be a bit more like, oh, here if you want a story about a sassy Hulk lawyer, here's a show for you. And people are like, yeah, but we're also being conditioned now to be like, what's this leading to? Like, Marvel has made a very conscious effort for about 10 years to say everything is part of a bigger piece. There's no such thing as a standalone Marvel film, even from the first Iron Man. And so to kind of now say, to have Phase 4, they're like, we're going to, not every piece needs to matter. You can watch whatever you want. To then go to this where they're like, oh no, every piece is going to matter again. There's definitely been a loss of goodwill. And people are going to see this movie because you're right, people still want to see it. Like, Thor: Love and Thunder made $750 million. People weren't exhausted by that, even though Doctor Strange was the movie that everyone was like, that was a disappointment. Like, people got to keep turning out to these movies.
Doctor Strange is the only one, man. I'm like, I could go back and watch that again.
Spider-Man?
It did something different. Oh, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's a Spider-Man film, I feel like. That was like its own end game with the three. It was its own identity, I feel like, that's separate from this phase.
I agree, because it's a Sony production. It feels separate in my mind as like a whole other event. But
despite having Doctor Strange in it, like, still very clearly linked to the rest of the universe.
It's definitely part of the universe. I'm not disputing that. It's just watching that, I'm like, this, like you said, this is its own thing. Like, No Way Home was kind of like a separate event. That was is there a sports analogy I can use? That was that was a one-day cricket match, as opposed to this, which is those really long cricket matches that go on forever.
A test match.
Yeah,
all right.
Probably. I don't know.
That was the 2020.
Quick critical reception. I've only got IMDb up. So Ant-Man 7.3, Ant-Man and the Wasp 7.0, and Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania 6.6.
What a big drop off in IMDb.
These movies are so on a level for me, but anyway. Let's get into Ant-Man. Armed with a super suit and with the astonishing ability to shrink in scale but increase in strength, cat burglar Scott Lang must embrace his inner hero and help his mentor, Dr. Hank Pym, pull off a plan that will save the world.
What do you guys experience in this film? Was this a favourite of yours?
No.
Did you enjoy things at the time?
Like I say, none of these Ant-Man movies are like my favourite. They're just all okay. I remember seeing it in the cinema and thinking that was a fine film. It had its funny moments, but it wasn't even like the funny Marvel film like I had kind of expected it to be, given Paul Rudd and Edgar Wright being part of it at some point. It's just a Marvel movie. Such a Marvel movie.
I really enjoy the first Ant-Man, and I did when it came out. Like, I don't know, I feel like this is perfect Ant-Man. Like, I love the scenes, and I feel like this is Edgar Wright, and you can see the traces of that, and it sort of gets lost throughout the trilogy as it goes on. Like, I love the scenes of the scale of things, like the iPhone flying around in the handbag and playing the music. The train tracks is one of my favorite fight scenes in the whole thing, and just the cut between like how intense this action scene of this explosion or this is about to happen, and then it cutting out to show Thomas the Tank Engine falling off the train track and like barely making a sound. Like, I love those sort of moments, and this film is ripe for that. And it's got the traces of like a heist movie in it, and I really like that. I like him and his crew. They're a lot more involved. They've got the comedy chops as well, and it's like they're being immersed into, like, they feel separate from the superhero world. Like, him clashing with Falcon, it's like, oh crap, like Ant-Man's interacting with this guy at Avengers Compound, and it's like this funny little interaction. It feels small, like your friendly neighborhood Ant-Man. Which is great, and it keeps that thing of like, this isn't really important for the thing. Hydra's going to get this technology. That's the main threat of the film, and I like that after all the world-ending stuff of everything else and the third one. It's really good. I really enjoyed the first one, and I feel like it has the most heart of any of this trilogy. But I really enjoy it. Yeah, as a standalone.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, it definitely has its moments. I totally agree. The final fight scene with the cutting between the epicness of this train battle and then just seeing the train roll off the tracks and stuff is really, really good. And like, what's his name? The Hornet. What's he call himself?
Yellow Jacket.
Yellow Jacket getting fried in the bug zapper, but then like they zoom out and it's just like, oh yeah, there's a little bug getting zapped like it's nothing. There's lots of really good little moments like that, and you're right, that's done really well. Yeah, and there's some funny moments in this. Like I enjoy the opening of this movie with Luis talking about his, losing his mum and his and everything. But I got the van, and like Scott, like, I've got a master's in electrical engineering. I'll get a job anywhere. And then he's working at Baskin Robbins and gets fired there too. Like, that's a pretty good moment. I enjoy that. And Luis, whenever he narrates, is great. I really love love him narrating.
Those are the standout bits that everybody talks about. Like,
exactly.
Everybody who talks about Ant-Man 1 and 2 are like, the little Michael Pena moments are really funny.
Yeah.
They totally are. And the second one as well. Like, they're really good because you get all the characters who are really like one note, and they're acting it out to his really fast narration. It's hilarious. I think there's all these pieces of, like I said, Luke, the Edgar Wright story structure that you can, because this movie, the first one has heart. The first one is like, it's a small story about a father trying to connect with his daughter, and life's kind of against him. And as a father of a daughter, I feel like that every day. So I'm like, Scott Lang, I get you. I can grow large or small depending on what I need. Exactly. Like, the movie has something to say. It believes in it, and there's a DNA to it. There's like a scaffold that's really good. And there's just a handful of moments that are funny and good quality, and like, you guys can do a lot with this. And then but then the rest of it, like, even as a heist film, it keeps being referred to, people like, oh, Ant-Man's a heist film. It's not, though.
I know. I wish they'd stuck with that thread, because I think it'd be a better film.
Like, the reason why people love Winter Soldier is because it's a spy film. Everyone's like, it's a spy movie, that's great. It's like, so make a heist movie in the MCU. And they're like, nah, let's not do that, though. Let's make sure to make it a bit more accessible to anyone. That's just...
We get the time heist in Endgame.
Yeah, and everyone loves that shit.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating because some of the comedy works really well in the first one, especially. And like, if it was just a pure comedy or something, this movie would be great. Or a caper film, like in a very Ocean's 11-y, where like it could have been one of the best. But
So what brings it down? What makes it not one of the best then? Because I don't know how to put my finger on it exactly. Like, it loses the thread of the heist somewhere along the way, but I don't really have a great reason why it's not a.
Yeah, there's with all of them, there's nothing that I'm like, oh, that's the problem. That's what. Like, in the third one, at least, I think the script's really bad. In this one, you can tell there was probably a script there, and it's gone through rewrites. It had 3 writers. Like, it feels a little bit pieced together in that sense. But I just think the problem that I've harped on about to no end with all of them is that they're trying to do 2 things. They're trying to establish bigger lore. Like, this film's trying to establish the Pym particle. And I can only imagine it's like, it has that opening scene with Howard Stark that's kind of irrelevant, besides going, oh, okay, so they connect each other and know.
Michael Douglas looks really like he's very uncanny valley in that scene too.
Yeah.
Like, the de-aging's not great there.
No, I forgot they tried that in that.
Yeah.
I just think it's that. I think it's a matter of they took like a film that was actually written with a purpose and, constructed properly, and said, okay, but let's replace that. Let's add in this. we're going to need to add in something where there'll be like Michael Douglas feels really weird in these movies, is underused as well.
Yes.
Like he's in a lot of it, but he's also just doesn't do anything. And I'm like,
he's totally a character I do not care about at all.
Yes. And he's not really given he's not given any time to cook, or he's not given any material. He just kind of he brings a charisma just by sheer being.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know if you'd actually given him a bit more. I feel like his character is very much the kind of add in. They're like, no, we need him to connect these dots because he has the wife, he has the particle that connects to every other element. And so you've got that tension of this is a story about Scott Lang and his daughter. And that's actually the movie. But we also need this parallel story with Hank Pym and his daughter. Yeah. And like that could also in a perfect world work. There's two parallel stories. But I just think, again, there's too much of an objective here of like, no, but we need to flesh this universe out, which is really counterintuitive because these films are, like you said before, they're so small scale. Yeah. They are intentionally like, hey, let's not deal with a cosmic threat. Let's not have Thanos. This is tiny. But they're still like, yeah, but remember there will be a cosmic threat one day. Let's never forget one day we'll have more big bads. It's like, just let it go. Just do a small film. But like, this is literally just a small San Francisco-based thing.
Yeah.
And I just, that to me, I'm like, they lose sight of what the film is. And
we'll get to it, but I kept thinking about in Quantumania how good Daredevil was. Like this small hero in his little part of New York dealing with his problems there.
Yeah.
What, like, can we ever? I wonder if we can ever get back to that in MCU. Like, I don't know. I kind of want Kang to win. Wipe out all the multiverse. Let there be one left, and then everyone can have their small scale problems. Anyway, we'll get to it, I guess.
Yeah.
Anything else to say about the first Ant-Man?
He's like just touching on like the small feeling of this thing and like that it's focused. I do like the whole dynamic of him like that. Even there's like another adversary of like the father-in-law, like as in his daughter's new father-in-law, like his ex-wife's new partner, and there's like this conflict, and he's a police officer too, and there's this conflict, and he's like on the run from the law, and that's catching up to him as well, and all this sort of stuff. I like that stuff. I like Corey Stoll since House of Cards as well. I like him in this.
You like him in this?
It's not like I like him in this. I like the actor from House of Cards, and so he's in this, and it's like, oh, hey, it's him. Especially back then, I was like, I'm glad
he's getting a job and making some money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know if he's ever fleshed out well enough to feel like he just feels like a pure evil bad guy. Like he turns that dude into mush in the bathroom. There's very little. There's very few dimensions to him. Which is a pretty disturbing thing. It is. It is. Yeah. There's not many dimensions to him as a character, and I think he's kind of dull as a result. And I think Marvel has that problem a lot. Like I don't think the MCU has great villains except for a few exceptions. Unlike perhaps DC, but anyway, that's a different conversation.
And last thing, we can't finish this without talking about Hope Van Dyne's haircut in this film.
Yes, I said to Luke when we were watching Quantumania, we have to rate her haircuts, right?
I'm a fan of the bob.
Really, bob. This might be my least favorite of her three.
This is my least favorite too.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like outdated.
It looks like I'm trying to look like Pulp Fiction. It's what it looks like to me, but I don't know.
This is the reference not many will care about, but it reminds me of in Mighty Ducks when he slicks back his hair all wet. Like it's just out of time, not fashionable, uncool, but she thinks it's cool, and it's just not right.
No, it's just people in the 50s love bob cuts.
It looks too fake to me. It looks like it's a wig.
Looks like a wig, yes.
Because it definitely is a wig, right?
Yes, that's the problem. It doesn't look like, oh, this is her hairstyle, and she feels like, it looks like, oh, there's a wig on Evangeline Lilly. I don't know, but yeah.
Who, by the way, we haven't talked about, like, doesn't have enough to do in these movies, in my opinion. I think she's a great actress, but she's not a standout in these movies.
Is more of a thing.
She's better in the second one.
She has a lot more in the second one. Is you can tell they're like, hence why it's Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like, we sort of need a second character in this. But yeah, she's not. No, I agree. She doesn't get too much. It's just part of the whole Marvel problem is that I think they're like, when Paul Rudd is the focus still. Yeah. And everyone else is playing second and third fiddle to him. And it's a shame because she's really like, Evangeline Lilly is a really good actress. I'm glad she gets bigger and bigger in these movies. Like,
yeah.
But yeah.
So does Ant-Man.
Hey,
Hey.
look at you.
All right, well, speaking of getting bigger, Ant-Man and the Wasp. As Scott Lang balances being both a superhero and a father, Hope Van Dyne and Dr. Hank Pym present an urgent new mission that finds the Ant-Man fighting alongside the Wasp to uncover secrets from their past. I really quite like this movie. I think this movie is the best one of the trilogy. It's going to be an unpopular opinion, but
Yeah,
I don't know. There's just something about Asian Jim and like the criminals and their little business. Like there's a lot of side characters here that get a decent amount of time, and I think they're all pretty good. And I
Got Morpheus.
I think he's pretty decent in this too. Like he doesn't.
They're the exact same problem as you were saying. They're all underdone.
They are underdone. They are underdone. You're right. No, as Morpheus is underdone, and so is Ghost.
So is Walton Goggins. Like he's criminally underdone. They just like do a southern accent, and that's your personality.
Is that
The
the
dude from Justified.
those criminals, the mafia dudes or whatever they are, the gangsters? They're the most boring bad guys ever. I think they could even just not be here. Almost they do need that third party in there for a lot of scenes, but.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There you go.
Rotten Tomatoes agrees with you.
There you go.
The first one's 83, second one's 87, and the third one's 48%.
Those two of those scores are way too high.
Yeah.
Anyway.
87%.
87
Wasp.
near 90%.
I enjoy this film as well. I feel like I don't know, the simplicity of the first one I enjoy more, but there's a lot of comedy stuff that hits in this one as well that I really enjoy. I really like the dynamic between him and Wasp in this one. I like their chemistry better in this one. I feel like there's the energy between them about, him going off to help Cap in Germany and everything like that. But once they get on board and everything like that, I like their banter and everything like that together.
That being such a serious conflict does weird me out. Like it doesn't feel justified that they hate him so much for going and doing that.
Yeah,
like it's a really strange choice.
It's almost like we got to reference the big films that we weren't.
And we need some way for them to be estranged at the start.
Yeah.
Instead of just, I'm under house arrest. Sorry, guys, I can't go heisting with you. Oh, okay, I understand. Yeah. Like I don't know. But yeah, I think Asian Jim's like I love
He's
every
great.
scene with Asian Jim in it. Jimmy Lou.
Is this guy how many people call him that as well?
It is funny that he's just known as Asian Jim. I like that. But yeah, every time they come to his house because he's under house arrest is good. Like I think every one of those scenes is fun.
Him and Paul Rudd's chemistry is great together.
Yeah.
Like they bounce off each other
They do.
really, really well.
Yeah, he needs to do more stuff, that guy.
He does.
I love like the stuff with the magic tricks as well, and just like Paul Rudd being like, when are you going to see me next? Soon. And he's just like, do you mean like a day? Like, do you want to go catch a drink, get some drinks on there? He's like, yeah. Do you want it? It's great. It's funny.
It feels like one of the few unscripted moments in these movies. Like it feels like we'll just leave it running for a bit, let them riff. For a moment.
Yep.
I like the problems Scott has maintaining his size. So when he's like his child size, I really enjoy that. And then
running down this hallway.
Yeah. And he's in the school uniform. He looks like in school uniform. Or when he's like really big and he's like using the truck as a scooter and stuff. I think that's funny. I don't know. It's just have fun with the size. I enjoy it. It's good.
The stuff with the vehicles in this is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like I like the chase and how they go in between sizes and make cars flip or this, and they dodge a car by going down in size and stuff. That all of that's a lot of fun, I feel like, in this one. But yeah.
I agree.
You agree?
I interrupted you, Conan, sorry.
No, I forgot what I was saying.
I like the truth serum guy. So
it's not truth serum.
It's not truth serum.
It's not.
And then at the end he's like, it is truth serum.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just lots of fun moments in this movie for me. I love when Michelle Pfeiffer's like transmitting herself into Scott, and Scott's acting like her, and like
he
being
does it great.
really gentle with Michael Douglas. It's funny.
Yep. The thing about this film is I feel like I'm not really interested in Wasp. Not Wasp, sorry, Ghost.
No, you're right. You're right.
It's just like, okay, I don't care about this. and now being so many films out of it, and like having never heard of her or seen her again, it's just like, oh, that's right, this character. Yeah, I forgot about this whole thing.
I just think I wonder if I can't remember when I first saw this movie, but on a rewatch, I was reminded how pointless it was. And it's like, oh, this movie has kind of no relevance at all because the villain in this, the connection, like it's just there's nothing to it. It's completely there's, and yeah, the whole like I feel pain at all times. It's like cool. Okay.
So do I.
Yeah, it's
He's just like me for
join
real.
the club, sweetheart. It's weird.
Yeah, or like its biggest connection to the rest of the universe is Scott being stuck in the quantum realm at the end during the snap. Like,
that's a cool ending. I do like
it. It is
that.
cool ending. You're right.
It feels eerie. Like,
but it's an after credit scene. It's not part of the main story.
Yeah.
And again, we all know they get out of there, so that's fine.
We know that now.
Well, yeah, all these films at the moment they come out. There's that sense of what's going to happen, but as soon as that gets answered, it's like okay. Like it loses some impact to it. I think
a little bit, but I don't know. Do you like? I feel like you don't like the idea of having all these films joined together, but then when one does that, you're like, oh well, why doesn't it join together?
I just think there's a tension of where they try to do, but they try to have the cake and eat it too. Make it all connected and make it matter, but make it these bigger stories. But then don't try or make films that aren't interconnected. Don't bother. And when they have post-credit scenes, they're like, oh, holy crap, what's going to happen? It's like, well, you know what's going to happen. Like, it seems weird to just be like, how are they ever going to get out of this one? And it's like, we know exactly how. It's like old school sitcom storytelling. It's the exact same things played over and over again. The problem is they look like this is the same thing. There's the funny moments in there. This is all stuff that is at the core of this franchise. And that I will forever say it was probably Edgar Wright's idea as well. They're just rehashing that. Like there's the two Louise like rambling monologue parts, and they're the funniest moments of the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, there's good comedy here. But then why you're like, but don't forget we're a serious film dealing with the blip. Oh no, the blip's happening, guys. Like, no, you're not. You're a caper film.
It's a post-credit scene, man.
But it's also meant to be the whole but it's like I say, it's meant to be wait, this is actually the big. This is what really is. This is about. Is holy crap, he's stuck in the quantum realm. Because then, what's the next film after this that deals with his fate? I don't know.
Endgame.
And I can't remember what happens in it. How do they get him out? I assume they have to deal with that. Right? He's like
a rat goes across.
Yeah, it's like really anticlimactic.
In his van, his van's been taken to like a depot, and a rat crawls across the dashboard thing, and it like sets off the thing to reverse and send him back out. But that's the thing, because this film came out in a weird spot, because this was the film after Infinity War.
Yeah.
So you see everyone wiped out, and then it's like, okay, now Ant-Man and Wasp on their crazy adventure with Walter Goggins.
I remember that being one of the things with this movie is like, how does this fit in with the timeline? This is coming out after Endgame, but all these people are here. Yeah. And then it's like, doesn't deal with it except for the post-credit scene.
And because that was like the whole explanation as well of why Ant-Man wasn't helping them, was like, oh, he's on house arrest. Because they say that in Infinity War. It's like, oh, he's on house arrest and Clint Barton's got some deal going on. So that's why they're not in this film yet. But yeah, I don't know. Apparently Ghost is a character in Thunderbolts, the Thunderbolts movie that's coming out soon.
Yeah, I saw that. Which...
So, yeah.
I'm so glad I was reminded of her existence.
I wonder how many people will be like, who
is that again? Morpheus is pretty underused. Doesn't do a lot. I don't know.
No.
Like, he could have been something cool in MCU, but now he's just that guy in one Ant-Man movie.
Yeah,
like,
unfortunately.
There was something again. Oh, we'll talk about it with Quantumania with a certain almost probably cancelled celebrity now. I don't know what to address it. But they're really, I feel like each movie now has a quota of like celebrities.
Yeah.
Big name actors. It's like, who's the big name actor we get here? And this one, they're like Lawrence Fishburne. And so they put him in this scene. So all he does in this is like, he betrays them. That's the whole reveal.
He's like betraying them, but then he like reverse betrays them at the end. Like, I don't know. He can't go through with it. He can't go through with it. Yeah. Tim Heidecker is in this movie as a cameo at the end, running the ferry. So. Yeah. Tim and Eric.
Scott.
Anyway, he's in Us. He's the white friend in Us that dies.
Okay.
He's a guy. You should watch them, Tim and Eric.
No doubt that he is. I'm sure
All
he's
right.
a guy.
Quantumania, we ready for it? That's why we're all here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Scott Lang and Hope Van Dyne, along with Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne, explore the quantum realm where they interact with strange creatures and embark on an adventure that goes beyond the limits of what they thought was possible.
Conan.
Can we talk about the science? The science of this. This movie spends a lot of time trying to be like, we're going into the subatomic quantum realm where somehow we can still re-gigantize and de-gigantize and subatomic. So I guess I'll explain it.
When you get that small, it's a whole other universe. It's like the idea that our universe is just a marble in a great cosmic creatures marble set. Like,
Yes.
it's everything can keep getting bigger and keep getting smaller.
So everything. Okay, so how does subatoms work? Because my understanding is atoms are the very minutest building blocks, right?
But
so
they're not, right? Like something makes up atoms, which is quarks and strings, which is where you get into quantum stuff. And so you can entangle quantum particles, which is electrons and protons and
then like...
Anyway, look, there is no science behind this. I don't think you can... I don't think you can be like, oh, the science doesn't make any sense. Because they're also talking about, the multiverse, which is loosely based on science also.
Stop it.
The whole time watching this movie, I was like, there are so many scenes that are like, oh, there's a whole subatomic quantum realm. And like, yes, this is when this happens. And then it's like, this redefines our entire understanding of the universe. I'm like, the whole time I was like, it would be funnier if they just kept using the word quantum, like, ironically, if they just kept being like, when you get to a quantum level, the quantum particles do quantum things, and they're like, oh, look, a quantum flower. That would have been much funnier.
He's riding a quantum horse.
Like, that would have been, yeah.
I need to take a quantum
that's
leap.
not bad. That's not actually bad.
They could have had so much fun, and it's like, oh crap, the quantum jellyfish. They're like normal jellyfish, but worse. Like, all of that could have been really
quantum.
Yeah, like the whole time, like, when are they going to commit to this bit?
Yeah, they do take it too seriously. And my biggest problem with it is like, this could be just a realm in the world of Thor, or this could be just a random planet that the Guardians go to. Like, there's very little that makes any of those things feel unique and different. Because we've had so many of the most recent Marvel films have been so out there. This could be just another multiverse in a Doctor Strange movie. Like,
the only thing, because I kept being like, why is this Ant-Man dealing with this? Like, the introduction of Kang, really. Like, why is this happening? And I guess the whole thing is like him being banished, and like, if it's just to another realm, like obviously he's powerful enough to get out of there, but like the quantum realm, only Ant-Man can get out of easily. I don't know.
It's loose, very loose reasoning.
That sounds like a boardroom. Like, how do we connect these? And like, quantums. We quantum it. Like, oh yeah, cool.
I guess the thing I did appreciate about the quantum realm as it went on is that they seemed to commit to like everything that wasn't Kang stuff was organic and alive. Like, the buildings are alive, everything's alive, and that was kind of an interesting wrinkle. And then everything that Kang does is mechanical and motorized, and at least they stuck with that theme. I didn't mind that. Like, I liked the living buildings, even though they kind of look like big dicks. They were kind of cool. Did anybody else get big Rick and Morty vibes out of this?
Very much.
Yeah.
Like, without the edge.
There's a lot of inspiration here, and this is again what I've been saying, that all of the stuff they take is dulled down to be like the most palatable form. It's got a lot of Rick and Morty like that, the wilds of science, where it's these buildings are living. There's this goopy thing that you can drink and understand language. Like,
and he complains about not having any holes. Like, that's such a Rick and Morty line, right?
Real Rick and Morty stuff. Like, the whole camp.
Should have been voiced by Justin Roiland. Maybe not. They would have regretted it now. They would have had two cancer people.
Can't have Bill Murray and Justin Roiland in this movie.
Double hitter.
No. But like, the whole cantina scene is very like Star Warsy.
Yeah.
But again, without any of the true like sort of Star Wars wonder, or it just feels too like, hey, look, we're doing Star Wars here.
Without any of the camp, give me some camp or something. Like, give me something to latch onto and enjoy about this. Give me some puppets playing flutes in the corner or something.
Just, goofy stuff. Like,
Ant-Man multiplying over and over again, having conversations with himself. That's very Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
But
But again, yeah, I'll be here all day. Because even that scene, add some more people. Have a scene where it's like he's dressed as Captain America. And it's like, oh, he could have become Cap in one
Yeah.
universe. Instead, they just do the Baskin
There's just
Robbins.
one
and it's like,
Baskin Robbins dude.
That's it, really? Like
The Baskin Robbins guy was funny, but you're right.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Maybe if it had so many variants, that would lose its impact.
Maybe it's. I
don't
thought
know.
of that Simpsons. There's that Simpsons episode where there's all the clones of Homer,
Yeah,
and you see like you see Peter Griffin there, and you see the old version of Homer. There's like a bunch of different ones, like sort of spotted around. I had the same thought of like Doctor Strange, where they're like, this is the multiverse. There's so much going on here. And it's like we see two universes in there, and they're very not that like this one is better because it's like this is just a cool spacey sort of thing.
yeah.
But I guess again, it's like all the people in the tribe are just humans. Like everyone they talk
By and
to
large,
is
yes.
just
I'm like,
all the
why is there
important
so
ones.
many humans in this
Yeah.
place? Like, where'd they come from?
It
Like,
wouldn't matter if they hadn't been like, oh, humans are different. He's hunting humans. It's like, no, there's like 15 humans here. What are you talking about?
Bill Murray's here. Like, what?
Exactly.
Like,
Oh no,
wow,
I'm
you
not
guys are
human. Are you
weird.
sure? Bill Murray totally pointless. Like does nothing. Isn't very funny to me. Like that could have been anyone.
Yes. It felt like the whole Jeff Goldblum thing in Ragnarok that worked because he becomes a
Yeah.
character. And he's like Goldblum brings real charisma in that role, like real sort of character.
This
Bill
should
Murray-
have been Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, like
Quantum Jeff Goldblum.
it
Like,
would have
should
been. I think it would have been
the
better.
Grandmeister, but the quantum version.
I
of
almost
him.
thought it was going to be him or Del Toro, the collector. Like it
Yes.
seemed
Yeah,
like it
yeah.
might have been that character, and that probably would have worked just as well as Bill Murray. Like honestly,
Because they hinted that whole that theme here, right? Of like infinite universes with inevitable fate, and like there's a Kang in every universe, and it always ends the same, no matter what. So I was thinking the same thing. That could have been cool. You're like, here is the collector. It's like, oh, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, there's always kind of these universes follow the same patterns or something.
yeah.
There would have been. I don't know, there could have been something nice there, I guess.
But that treads on the toes of the multiverse so much. Like
Yeah.
that's exactly what the multiverse is trying to do. That's why we get that council with Professor X and everything. Like it's
Did you guys think that they were the ones who banished him?
No,
You know,
No, I
Okay.
didn't think of that, eh?
no.
because he's like, I've been exiled here. I'm like, oh, they're going to tie this in with that, and they've got to do it this way. But
No, it was just more kings.
It was a
Yeah.
council of Ricks. It was the Rick and Morty council of Ricks. Like
It's
it's
just freaking- Well, no, actually, the funny thing is, this movie was written by this guy who was like a big writer on Rick and Morty.
oh really?
Really?
Yeah. So
I had no idea.
what's his name?
Justin Roiland?
Under a different name of no. This is credited only as being written. Sorry, by two people: Jack Kirby, who was wasn't he like the guy who wrote the comics? Yeah, he wrote
Yes,
the comics. So
yes.
he's dead. So it's written by Jeff
I was gonna
Loveness,
say.
who
Yeah.
big like massive, written a bunch of Rick and Morty stuff. So
Right. Well, that
yeah.
makes so much sense then.
Yeah, yeah, it really does, doesn't it?
What did you guys think of MODOK? He is a ridiculous looking character in the comics. Like there's no getting away from
There's
it.
no way to do it without.
They could have
taking it
just
seriously.
not done him. Like I guess
Yeah,
that's the other option.
Not been faithful. Just yeah.
Like does he
I
have
thought-
that much to do here? Not really.
No, I thought it was weird to bring back what's his name, Darren Cross. It's like
Darren.
again, is anybody like, oh, what happened to Darren in the Quantum?
Yeah.
Verse?
I mean, I
I
didn't.
enjoyed that it was him though.
When he so did I. When he died, I was like, that's a weird death. Like I feel sorry for the guy. And then to show that this is the result of that is kind of wild. To be this giant headed thing.
Just a giant head.
I didn't mind that.
Him being loaded into the suit and just his little butt and little legs with this like
Yeah.
weird thing. Like, disturbing imagery, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. A lot of the stuff with him was funny. It's just like I'm glad they like. There's no way you have him there and play the scene serious. You have to make fun of how he looks. Like it has to
Yeah.
be. Okay, this is ridiculous. We know it's ridiculous.
And it's nice that like everyone's so scared of him, but he's so ridiculous. Like I think I'd actually think that kind of works.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of like the general visuals? Because like another criticism of Marvel for the past like 10 years has been, or not 10, 5 years, has been like they all kind of look like crap. And I think at least we talked about it more with like Thor: Love and Thunder looked really cheap. Doctor Strange,
Yeah.
I think, did as well. Like you can tell that the CGI is
There's
stretched.
parts in them where it's like, oh, that looks cheap.
Yeah, it's stretched thin. Yeah, there's that great meme going around comparing the
Spy
the Spy Kids, and there's even like two of them now.
Literally,
Two scenes that are like match for match.
literally heading into this, I was like, man, this just looks like adult Spy Kids. Like, I don't know, this looks a bit weird. Watching the film, there was nothing that really caught my eye of like, oh wow, that was poorly animated, or that looks cheap. There was a few moments like that in Thor, Love and Thunder for me. And there's even like for some reason, I don't know why, the third eye looked really bad in Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Like when the eye opens up, I'm like, that looks so cheap. That looks like I've edited it and put an eye on him. Like it doesn't look professionally done at all. But there's nothing that
Corey Stoll's head was the only thing that looked really uncanny, but again, it's probably supposed to. Like, I don't know how you do that and make it not look really, really strange.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought there was a lot of parts of like during the fights. There's a part where he's talking with his daughter and he's like, you run and tap. And then it's like he does it to 3 people in sequence, and it's just this really bad looking like blur of he appears and then appears. And that, and there's like scenes where she's fighting and running, and they all look really cheap. Like all the shenanigans where they're shrinking, run, leap up. I don't know, the cracks. I feel like I saw the cracks in this one really badly.
But I think it would hard to not look at it like that when it's in this world that's basically fully CGI. It's like, I don't know if that would look like that if it's outside in like a normal street, like if, in 2 or 1, but in this, it's not like that. It was that distracting because it was just like everywhere was cartoony and like weird jelly people running around, and I don't know.
But the backgrounds look pretty decent, like the nebula and the sort of solar flares going on. Like
that stuff's a lot easier to animate, though, I feel like, than a moving person, right? Like, that's the stuff that gets you. That's the stuff that's hard. That's the stuff that's expensive.
Oh, if you can't do a job, don't do it.
I didn't have any problems with the CGI in this movie. I thought it was fine, but maybe I'm pretty tolerant of that stuff because I don't think I've had that much of a problem with the other Marvel movies either of recent.
Fair enough.
So 2 things. I don't think this movie is like the second worst Marvel movie of all time. I don't see how this movie is like nearly 30 or 40% less than Thor Dark World, or anything like that. Like, it's ridiculous.
When you put it that way.
I don't think that's the case. I don't think this is half the movie of what the other Ant-Man movies are. I don't know, not to that degree. Like, I would have it a bit rated less, but I don't know.
I guess what if this movie though is an Ant-Man movie? So that was the thought I had watching this. I'm like, what if that? Besides Paul Rudd, who in this again is pretty toned down. He's got some pretty basic, like, really bad banter.
The humor doesn't hit anywhere near the other ones. I don't feel like.
I wonder if this movie would be better if everybody wasn't suffering from Marvel fatigue. Everybody wasn't over that Marvel banter. And like, you're right, we are missing those side characters that I think made the other movies charming. Like, there's no Louise. There's a very small moment of Asian Jim. Yeah. Like, it's literally
that one scene at the end, isn't it?
Asian Jim at the end, like they're having lunch together and they get the free lunch. He doesn't even speak, I don't think. But
yeah.
Yeah,
I completely forgot about that already.
I was just watching it. I was thinking, there's like Ant-Man's, they're small contained stories. They're about a cast. There's always a father-daughter story, which is that. But like, this movie does none of that. It becomes half of it is Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Douglas. The other half is 1/3 of it is that. 1/3 of it is Kang's sort of backstory.
Yeah.
And then 1/3 of it is Paul Rudd with his daughter. So it's like, I was just watching. I'm like, this doesn't feel at all like an Ant-Man movie. This should just be like Quantumania or something, and be like a standalone. Or I don't know. It just felt really weird. I'm like, even from the bare sort of the minimal DNA of an Ant-Man film, this isn't an Ant-Man movie. Like, it really doesn't feel it. I'm just like,
I don't disagree. It doesn't. Apart from having Ant-Man in it, it doesn't have any of the rest of the things we all talked about loving in the other movies. None of that's here. And like, to me, it is worse than the other 2 movies, but it's not the worst Marvel movie, not even close in my opinion. And I think it suffers from the Marvel fatigue. Like, I think if there wasn't that, this movie would be fine. Not great, but fine. Yeah, people are really down on this movie.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, I had really low expectations going in. I was shocked at how low scores. I walked out, and I don't know if it changed my perspective of it. I walked out more satisfied than I did with Love and Thunder. I was just like, okay, that was fun. I had fun then. With Love and Thunder, I was like, that was not Ragnarok. I was like, all the jokes did not hit for me in Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
Like they didn't, and I don't know. I felt like maybe that one I was more excited for and had more potential and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I was actively upset in Love and Thunder. I wasn't actively upset here. You're right.
No, it was just like, okay, I had fun, whatever. What did you think of Jonathan Majors?
He's both great, and he is great as an actor. He's fantastic. Like
Yeah.
he's like walking charisma. That guy. He's menacing.
He really
He's
is.
charming. Like he's really really easy to sort of get caught under his spell. And like his whole character in this, it's got a real sort of like Laurence Olivier, like Shakespearean element to him, where he's kind of the way he enunciates words, and the way he kind of like slowly talks, and is like, it's kind of like Thanos and his whole "I am inevitable," but it's not like as dramatic. It's a bit more like, no, like, you're all going to die. That's just what
He's
happens.
very omnipotent.
Yeah, that's a good way. Yeah, exactly. He feels like he knows what's happening at all times. Like, that's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, he talks down to everyone. Like just
Yeah.
like
Yeah, whole like, have I killed you before? It's like, yeah, he has killed just thousands of these things before. The problem then comes in when he starts to talk too much, I think, and then he's had these big conversations where he's like, he starts yelling and he becomes like
yelling and getting frustrated,
a petulant child with him. I'm like, dude, you're a god emperor conqueror. What? No, just stop. You are so much more interesting as a calm, distant, sort of like, as this villain who just, anything that comes near you, he controls people, telekinesis.
Just boom. He could snap someone's neck like that, you feel like. But
then he gets in punch on, then he can't really win them, and he becomes really upset. And I'm like...
And gets overwhelmed by ants. Like ants...
Communist ants, don't forget.
Yeah. They beat Kang. They beat
Kang. The only thing that can beat fascism is communism. It's right there.
I love Michael Douglas bringing that up. I'll be like, I just want to say,
socialism gets treated as a bad word. But...
it's a loaded phrase.
100%. I sort of agree with you. Where I was like, I'm really, captured by his performance and his acting. Where I'm like, oh, wow, he's very charismatic. He's going to be a great villain. But then when he gets too emotional and like caught up in it, it's like, you shouldn't be getting frustrated by Ant-Man, really. Like, I would much rather like this end and not him being overwhelmed by ants or this or a punch up with Ant-Man. Have it be this thing of just like he's overconfidence and they've outsmarted him. They've done this thing that just tricked him, and it's like, oh shit, and they got away or something like that. I feel like that's better, not like being like, oh, Ant-Man beat Kang. Like that builds up. It's like Thanos appearing in one of the first films and being beaten, and then be like, I'll get you back. Like, it diminishes him already, I feel like, a bit. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not great to go down the whole path of they should have written this and they should have done it this way, but it did seem super strange. Like, in a film, it's about a guy who does heists, right? A guy who kind of is a bit smarter, a bit more clever. He's basically trying to do a heist in the quantum verse. He's doing a quantum heist in the quantum verse. And it's weird to have him to sort of beat the big bad. It's like, he shouldn't have done that. I'm like,
he's right. Human. He's literally just human.
And his power is just shrinking small. Like, it's not even anything impressive.
I honestly half expected him just to steal that orb. That to be the thing that was going to go on. But they put so much effort into making you realize, oh no, there's so many oppressed people in this world, and it's partially your fault. Like, they can't just leave those people there with him at the end. No. Like, there's other ways to write around that, but yeah.
Then there's the whole philosophy there of like, how many, like, at what level of subatomic particles does life cease to matter? There's got to be a cutoff. There's got to be somewhere we go, no longer do they matter, because it just keeps going and there's infinite life. Therefore, not. But that's a whole different philosophy that we could go down.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a shame because Kang's the big bad they need, and the two post-credit scenes that show different variants of him. Okay, there could be something new. Like, I'm interested to see what different directors do with him. And Jonathan Majors is a good casting for it. Like,
do you think he's going to be the bad guy in every movie now for the rest of the
next phase? I feel like.
You reckon?
I don't know.
What are the? No, because they didn't do that with Thanos. Thanos was always kind of like a spectre,
no, they didn't. Right? Yeah. Thanos was pulling the strings, but
yeah,
I don't know if that works to do that again either. Not sure. Because we have so many variants of him, like it makes total sense for them to be like, let's send variant 457. He's really strong. He could be our champion, but then why don't they all just go in? I don't get it.
It diminishes it because that's the thing. We literally see thousands of him. I didn't like that scene. Like I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of that post-credit scene showing all of them. It crossed too much into Rick and Morty for me, where they're all like laughing and clapping. I was just like, how am I meant to take this seriously as the big bad when there's thousands of you? Like I don't know.
The more I think about it, I'm like, yeah, there is really this is just Rick and Morty episode.
I just had so much Rick and Morty vibes, man.
Like, oh, he's Egypt, like one, and then like he's a pharaoh, and like I don't know, it's just I don't know. This one talks a little weird. I don't know, but
because that's kind of been the issue for a while as well. Like the whole we're an infinite universe, and so everything needs to be okay. The whole multiverse is getting imploded because that's the only way to make those stakes matter. So yeah, how do they do this now? Every time Kang comes in, it's like you kill me. There's just got to be infinite more of me. It's like, oh man,
yeah.
What is yeah?
Maybe they can pull this off.
20
but I don't know.
I don't know, but yeah, Jonathan Majors was great in this. I enjoyed him in Loki as well. He's really good. As Kang in that.
Trust you on that.
Yeah, because
that's okay.
Conan, you would have watched Loki, obviously. Right?
Yeah, I've rewatched Loki several times.
You know how in the end,
that actually ties it all together. You see,
it does. Owen Grant was like, "Where's Owen Wilson come into this? Why is he like in the post credits?" But because
so he's got a big role in that show, or does he just have a...
No, so he shows up in the finale. Like he's basically a big reveal of like they're trying to get to who's controlling all the multiverses and all the timelines, and they get to a room where like basically like a library with Jonathan Majors sitting there, and it's a different sort of Kang than what's in this film. He's like not like a conqueror, he's more like a philosopher sort of thing, and he's just like, no, like you don't understand, like there's this stuff happening, but I'm maintaining the chaos. He's like, I'm keeping all the chaos in, and they kill him because like they think that will solve their problem, and he's like, no, trust me, that's not going to solve your problem, and they kill him anyway, and then he's just like, the other ones are much better than me. And then when it goes back to the thing, you basically see like he ends up in a timeline where there's a big statue of Kang, and it's like, oh crap, this one's a conqueror like in this universe, and it's like, okay, he was the good one that tried to stop them all.
In the post-credit scenes of this, you see he's like a traveling sort of showman.
Yeah.
You know, in colonial times or the Old West or whatever, and he's talking about time. So is this? We haven't seen this in Loki before. This is a different variant again.
This is basically like a teaser for season 2. I feel like it's brand new. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm glad I saw that, so now I can go into season 2 and not be confused.
Exactly. Now you know what's going on.
Yep. Notice it was Kang will return, not Ant-Man, not Scott Lang. Do you think we're getting any more Ant-Man?
Interesting, yeah.
I actually left before that even appeared. As soon as that scene ended, I'm like,
you don't watch the post credits?
No, I watched the post credits, but literally as soon as it went,
it was like a millisecond later, but sure.
I was done.
I was like, I'm not looking at any more.
Because they tricked me. I'm like, it's going to tell me Ant-Man will return, and they fooled me. Like,
yeah, now you have to go and watch it again.
Well done, Kevin.
Aren't you a goose?
You've tricked me good.
Did
because who? Oh, you go.
I was gonna ask, like, did you like his daughter?
Like, I really like Catherine Newton. She's great.
Yeah, I really like them together. It's jarring watching these films and seeing like the time jump and like because even if you watch Endgame, that's a different adult.
Yeah, they got
Cassie and then they recast her, but yeah, I don't know. Their chemistry is good.
I have the same. I kept butting up against the same wall of she feels like the young female offsider as same with Doctor Strange with can't remember her name, but she had that role. Same as
America or something like that.
Yeah, America Diaz.
Yeah.
Same as the Tony Stark replacement in Wakanda Forever.
Ironheart.
Yep. There is this constant trope that they do of like, okay, you need a
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye with
Kate Bishop.
Aren't they all going into some movie together though?
Yes.
I'm sure there is one. But I just don't care. I can't bring myself to care.
No, but that's exactly the problem. They introduce this second, and it's just so generic. It's like a female offsider who's really strong and probably better than the person. And I'm not going down any sort of like, they're feminizing these movies. That's not the point. The point is that it's the other way. They're like, this is how we appeal. We write a strong female character who has zero depth. Like Catherine Newton's the same. She's sort of wide-eyed and a bit like, oh, well, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I've got to do something, and she can do anything. And it's the exact same character.
It just cracks me up that they're like, man, this 16-year-old girl solved quantum.
That's it. Like,
She's like, I had 5 years to read, so I've
That's all it takes. It's all it
I've
takes.
studied the meaning of
If
life.
only
I've
more
figured it
people would
out.
read for 5 years, we'd solve everything.
And they're
It
just like,
was-
wow,
yeah.
look at her build all this stuff without millions of dollars of technology that she would need to build this stuff.
This thing,
Box of
and
scraps.
it makes me so angry because I'm like, that's just your shtick. Your shtick is just, they're so great. They just don't know their potential. I'm like, that is the worst take on like a female character to be inspirational I've seen. And they just keep being like, nah, don't worry. This will get people really. We're progressive. We know what we're doing.
It
Right,
was literally the same with Ironheart, where it's like this
Yes, it was
16-year-old
identical.
girl
Yeah.
has built all this stuff and has
was
this
identical.
warehouse in America. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just
At least Cassie had a
Whatever.
better suit.
yeah, it was much better suit.
Where does Marvel go from here? Like, can the stakes get any higher? I really wonder what Phase 6 looks like after they defeat Kang.
Oh, you can't defeat. It'll just be Kang every time.
Like, I honestly kind of hope Kang wins to some extent, and there's like a great reset, and we get these small stories again. I just don't understand where they can go from here.
Has anyone talked about this? Have we talked about this? Like that idea of basically converging, whatever the word is, every single universe bar one.
They need to. Kang needs to destroy everything.
I feel
except
like
one.
I've had this conversation with. I can't remember if we did after Doctor Strange.
I don't know that we did, but
Okay, but like that exactly that idea, like because Doctor Strange dealt with it all. We're like, oh, universes are going to keep crashing into each other. What can we do? And there was that sense of, oh, this is just going to be chaotic, and bringing in the meta reality of it. Like, I can only imagine Feige and all of Marvel and Disney are like, we need to really do something about it because we can't just keep
Expanding.
we can't keep expanding and then going the other way, doing really small scale TV also hasn't worked. Like, all these companies are changing their business practices with streaming, and they're reducing their content. So they do need a new sort of method of operation. And that seems like the best one, right? Just go, okay, the secret invasion happens, stuff goes on, all the universes converge, explode. There is one reality, and we can no longer bend it.
Yep.
And then basically restart. And that'll give them a solid 10, 15 years. And then I imagine Kevin Feige's hoping he's dead by then, so he doesn't have to deal with the rest of it.
I kind of wonder if that's how they can introduce mutants, and
We've got
let's go
Deadpool
X-Men. Like, there's so many movies coming. I
Is
just
Deadpool
don't
crossing over into the MCU proper?
Yeah,
don't-
apparently.
really. Wolverine's back in it. Like, I wonder at some point, do they just throw a bunch of money at Captain America and Iron Man, get them back for a movie somehow, get everyone back to the MCU?
Just for Kang Dynasty Wars or whatever.
Yeah,
it is.
I don't know. Like, just same thing they did with Spider-Man, right? Like, that got
Bring
bums on
Tobey
seats.
Maguire back too.
Just
Is
because.
Is that the big scene for the Avengers where, like, Kang goes to punch and Iron Man stops him, and the audience just loses their shit?
I just want to point out, they do that so many times in Quantumania. Like, someone who's not part of the scene re-emerges and saves the day. Like, the ants
waiting
come
for that
back,
audience reaction.
MODOK comes back. Like, it's just so many. They just do that over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Endolf on the hill shows up.
Yeah, there's so many examples of it in that movie, and I feel like that's like Marvel status quo now.
Yeah,
And it sucks.
the one that I noticed was the amount of times like the guards would be walking with a prisoner, and the prisoner would grab a gun and shoot them or break a leg. Like, Michelle Pfeiffer got out of at least 3. Cassie got out of it. Cassie got out of 13.
Yeah,
The leader of the
every time they
revolution, like 4 times. Yeah.
And Kang's mowing people down with lasers, and they're just being they're being walked away by guards, and they're just like, "What's this?"
Did
Lazy.
you like the creature obsessed with holes turned into Kirby and swallowing them people?
Yeah, he was the most Rick and Morty character for me. He was
I
kind of funny.
liked his
but-
humor. I thought it was funny, just the asking the whole. And I love that, when the guy's like, he has 7 holes. I feel like everyone in the cinema at the same time was like doing what Ant was doing, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like, yes, okay. There was that character that read minds as well, which was funny a bit, but there wasn't much
Underused.
to him. But yeah, underused.
Like,
so-
I didn't mind like the light bulb head looking dude too. Like,
yeah.
he was kind of cool, but not really used.
I like him getting the security code. That guy's like, over my dead body. It's just like, it's 1628. He's like, damn it. But
I feel like that his whole character's in there for that gag.
yeah, literally.
Like,
I feel like it has to just go smaller scale. Like what I want to see is, have Kang win or whatever and wipe out all this sort of stuff, and then let's get our standalone Spider-Man movie that looked like it was leading up with now. Tom Holland's in New York. He doesn't have Aunt May. He's now it's his origin story. It's his Spider-Man rescuing stuff. Nobody knows who he is. He's not involved with the Avengers, doing his own thing. Give us a Daredevil movie where it's just Daredevil doing stuff. Like that's what I want.
So this is the slate, right, going on. So you got Secret Invasion coming up, which is massive. That's like the whole thing of that story is it's like, again, it's world ending, it's big. So we've got more big stuff. You got Guardians 3, which
Guardians 3 is in like 2 months.
Could go down could actually be that sort of smaller story because it seems a bit more
will be.
It seems a bit more like
the ending of the Guardians, yeah.
Yeah, they're dealing with personal things. So that could go really well. Echo, which I don't know.
Just while we're on Guardians, what does it say about the MCU if the best movie this year is made by the guy now running DC? Like, I don't know.
It will be.
Yeah,
it
probably
will be. It really will be. I have faith in Guardians. Guardians 3 looks awesome.
Oh no, don't worry. We might get a good director for Blade by the time it comes out.
Echoes from the Hawkeye TV show, a character that's introduced in the Hawkeye TV show.
All right, I can't speak for that. Loki season 2, I feel is gonna. I don't know. Well, I guess it's going to continue to expand the multiverse stuff. But again, that's big picture, right?
Yeah.
And I just went through really quick. Marvel's Blade, Ironheart, Agatha, Coven of Chaos, Daredevil series, and Captain America: New World Order, and then
which Harrison Ford's in that.
Why is he still acting, man? He's must have some debts, some gambling debts or something.
Yeah.
But I feel like all that's leading, Marvel's is leading to this big thing. Blade might be standalone, interesting. Ironheart is going to lead to this. Agatha is more multiverse, big picture stuff. Daredevil won't be.
I don't know if Agatha is.
No,
Agatha's like a side character
WandaVision.
from WandaVision, so.
All right.
I don't know. She could be not much, but she's going to be a TV show anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. I think so.
I don't know. The poster for Marvels just came out, and it's going to be another big one, so.
At this point, I'm interested for Guardians, and there's not much else beyond that.
I'm pretty tired. I'm so tired. Let me rest.
I'm just so very tired. Yeah, I don't know. Because Captain America, we'll be here all night.
All right, let's rank them. For me, it goes 2, 1, 3. I know that's probably unpopular.
Yeah, it's just 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
Fair enough. I understand it.
Yeah.
All right. What's the best hairstyle for Evangeline Lilly?
Oh, yes, sorry. 2, it's 2, 3, 1.
No, it's not 1, 2, 3. It's 2, 1, 3. Just the normal long hair.
2, 3, 1. Normal long hair. The bob. No, get it out of here. I don't want it.
I'll say 2, 3, 1. Yeah.
You guys are whack. Do you hate Pulp Fiction too? What's the deal?
Do you hate pixie cuts?
Is season 3 a pixie cut? Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but it changes twice. She ends up with a blonde pixie cut at the end.
Can't keep up with her hair. It's too much.
And that's the thing. We're not even including the Avengers appearances where her hair was different again. I don't know. But yeah,
he was in the Avengers. Boy.
You remember all the women came together?
Endgame.
Do you remember that scene? I don't know. There's probably a lot.
That's like her one scene
that.
in Endgame. But yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, thanks for joining us for the good, the bad, and the worst. That was Ant-Man. I think we're all pretty sick of Marvel, so we'll take a break till at least Guardians anyway.
One last thing about Quantumania. Sorry.
Quick.
Did you guys notice that in Quantumania is the word Ant-Man?
I had this exact thought. I was like, this movie should just be called Ant-Mania. Ant-Mania. Like, that would have been such a good title.
Just capitalise the Ant-Man part. That
Literally,
yeah.
That would have been the dopest.
It fits in the letters perfectly too.
Yes. Yeah. I would have been like, this movie is peak comedy. This movie's hilarious. Like, I would have been a big fan.
Yep.
Wordplay.
Anyway, sorry. That's all.
Our next podcast, the plan is the Creed trilogy. There is a question mark about whether that movie is going to come to our tiny local cinema, so there might be a road trip involved, and it might take us a little bit longer to get it out here. But we'll see. But otherwise, we're going back to the Rocky trilogy, back to real movies, the Creed trilogy. I've never seen any of these.
We'll be seeing more Jonathan Majors, which is good.
Which is apparently he's in Creed.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah.
he's the big bad. I've seen Creed 1. Creed 1's really good.
If it turns out to be it's Kang. It's like, I'm in every universe now.
This is an alternate reality where Killmonger and Kang verse off. Like, I'm there for that.
Yeah.
That's what Marvel needs, is stupid spin-offs.
Actually, we've even had Sylvester Stallone as well in Marvel.
True, he was in Guardians too, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Anyway, yes.
Yeah, let's do What If, but in real life, and have like a boxing movie where two characters face off, or the Avengers field a ice hockey team, something like that. Like, let's just get weird with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Big budget, all the actors there pretending to be, boxers. I want it.
Yeah.
This podcast was brought to you by The Taste of Iron by CV Clark. Check it out on Amazon. If you liked hearing us talk about movies, you'll love hearing us talk about. Well, currently we're talking about The Last of Us TV show on Bonus XP, but otherwise we talk about games. That releases every week following the episode. Pretty excited. Coming up on the end of that, but it's been fun.
Yes.
Rate us on iTunes and Spotify. Tell your mum, tell your friends, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace.
Peace.